The emergency klaxons shattered the morning silence across New Geneva Station, their wailing cry echoing through every corridor and habitat module. Alex Chen dropped his coffee mug, the brown liquid spreading across his workstation as holographic displays flickered to life around him. His hands moved with practiced efficiency, fingers dancing across the haptic interface as he pulled up the threat assessment. What he saw made his blood run cold. 47 warships had just dropped out of hyperspace at the system's edge. The configuration was unmistakable. Velkari battlecruisers, their crystalline hulls refracting starlight into rainbow cascades that would have been beautiful if they weren't so terrifying. Alex had seen those ships before, 5 years ago, when he'd stood on the observation deck and watched one particular vessel carry away the only woman he'd ever loved. "Sir, they're hailing us." Lieutenant Morrison's voice cracked slightly. The young officer was fresh from the academy, had never seen real combat. None of them had, not here on humanity's newest and most remote colony station. Alex forced himself to breathe, to think like the station commander he'd become, rather than the broken man he'd been. "Put it through." The main view screen shimmered, and there she was, Ashley, or rather, Crown Princess Ashleia of the Velkari Imperium, sat upon what could only be described as a floating throne of liquid silver. Her skin still held that faint luminescence he remembered, like moonlight on water, and her eyes, those impossible violet eyes that shifted like nebulae, fixed upon him with an intensity that made his chest tight. She wore armor now, elegant and terrifying, wrought from the same living metal as her throne. Her hair, once kept long and loose the way he'd loved, was bound in the complex braids of a warrior princess, but her face was the same. God help him, her face was exactly the same. "Hello, Alex," she said, and her voice carried that harmonic quality that had once whispered promises in the dark. "I see you've done well for yourself." Station commander. Impressive for a human. The casual condescension in that last word stung more than it should have. Alex straightened in his chair, aware that every member of his crew was watching, that this moment would define everything that came next. "Princess Ashleia." He kept his voice formal, professional. "To what do we owe the honor of this visit?" Something flickered across her face. Regret? Pain? It vanished too quickly to tell. "I think you know why I'm here, Alex. The treaty zones have shifted. New Geneva Station now falls within Velkari territorial claims." "The hell it does," Alex growled. "We've been here 3 years. We've filed proper claims, followed every galactic protocol. Human protocols," she interrupted, and now there was steel in her voice. "The Velkari Imperium does not recognize human expansion into this sector. You have 12 hours to evacuate. After that, my fleet will take the station by force." Alex's mind raced. 12 hours. They had 4,000 colonists, families, children. The evacuation ships could maybe handle half that number, and it would take days to get them all to safety, not hours. Ashleia, he dropped the title, spoke to the woman he'd known. "You know we can't do that." "There are innocent people here?" "There are always innocent people, Alex." Her expression hardened. "That's what I tried to make you understand before I left. Why I had to leave. In the galaxy beyond your little human bubble, there is no room for sentiment, for weakness. I am Velkari. I am royalty, and I have my orders." "Then disobey them," Alex said quietly. "You did it before. You came to Earth, lived among us, pretended to be human. You loved me once, or was that all a lie?" For a moment, just a moment, he saw the Ashley he'd known. The woman who'd laughed at human comedy, who'd cried at human music, who'd held him after nightmares and whispered that she'd never leave. "I never lied about my feelings," she said, and there was genuine pain in her voice now. "But I lied about everything else. About who I am, what I am. My father is dying, Alex. When he does, I become Empress. An Empress cannot show weakness, cannot harbor sympathy for a species the Imperium views as children playing with weapons they don't understand." "Then let me show you something," Alex said. He stood, moving to the tactical display. "Morrison, pull up Project Horizon." The lieutenant hesitated only a moment before complying. New holographic displays materialized, showing technical specifications that made Ashley lean forward on her throne. "What am I looking at?" she asked. "Humanity's future," Alex replied. "You said we're children? Maybe, but we learn fast. That's what you never understood about us. We adapt, we improvise. When you left, it broke me. I spent 6 months drunk. Another 6 trying to figure out how to move forward. And then I realized humans don't stop when things get hard. We get harder. The specifications rotated in the air between them. Quantum displacement shields. Reverse engineered from Velkari technology we scavenged from a battle site. Neural interface weapon systems adapted from Threx designs, and power cores using a principle we discovered ourselves, something called Hawking radiation extraction. Ashley's eyes widened. That's theoretically impossible. Tell that to the engineers who made it work. Alex smiled grimly. You wanted to protect us by leaving, by returning to your people before the Imperium decided we were a threat. But Ashley, we were always going to be a threat. Not because we're aggressive, but because we refuse to stop growing, learning, becoming more. That's what humans do. We look at the impossible and say, watch me. He gestured to the display. This station, it's not just a colony. It's a fortress. Those 47 ships you brought, they're impressive. But if you come at us, you'll lose at least 20 before you breach our shields. And every ship you lose is a political catastrophe for you back home, isn't it? A princess who came to claim a human station and lost nearly half her fleet doing it. Ashley stood from her throne and even across the vast distance of space and view screen technology. Alex felt the weight of her presence. Are you threatening me? No, Alex said softly. I'm showing you who we are, who we've always been. You fell in love with me because humans fascinated you. Because we were different from the rigid hierarchies and ancient protocols of the Imperium. You wanted to understand what made us special. He moved closer to the screen. This is what makes us special, Ashley. We don't accept fate. We don't bow to inevitability. You come here with an army and we'll fight. Not because we think we'll win, though we might, but because that's what humans do. We fight for what's ours, for who we love, for the future we believe we deserve. Silence stretched between them. Behind Ashley, he could see her officers shifting uncomfortably. They understood what he was saying, even if they didn't want to admit it. You've changed, she finally said. So have you, Alex replied. You're wearing a crown now, even if it's invisible. But I remember the woman who cried watching Earth's sunset, who said our determination to survive, to thrive despite being one of the weakest species in known space, was the most beautiful thing she'd ever witnessed. Ashley closed her eyes. When she opened them, something had shifted. I will need to consult with my fleet commanders. We will reassess the situation. Take all the time you need, Alex said. We'll be here. The transmission ended, leaving Alex staring at empty space where her image had been. Morrison whistled low. Sir, did we just bluff our way out of an invasion with systems that are barely past the prototype phase? Alex allowed himself a small smile. Lieutenant, the most important thing I learned from Princess Ashley is that sometimes the biggest weapon isn't what you can do. It's what your enemy thinks you might do. He settled back into his chair. Watching the Velkari fleet hold position at the system's edge, they wouldn't attack, not today. Maybe not ever. Because he'd reminded Ashley of something she'd tried to forget, that humanity's greatest strength wasn't in their weapons or their technology. It was in their absolute, stubborn refusal to give up, and sometimes, just sometimes, that was enough.